Welcome to a very special edition of Dalston Radio Live. Today we're proud to present the Lux Afrique Polo Takeover, a celebration of heritage, excellence, and rhythm. This isn't just a conversation about polo, it's a conversation about culture and impact. Today you'll hear from some of the world's leading black equestrians, cultural icons and changemakers, designer and polo visionary Miguel Wilson, and equestrian style advocate and attorney Kevin Scott. Enjoy. Hello, people. Welcome back to Dalston Radio Live. We have a very special show today. We have two amazing gentlemen with me who are going to be talking about their lives and the amazing things that they're going to be doing literally in less than 24 hours. So I have Kevin Scott, and Miguel Wilson of Miguel Wilson Collection. Welcome. Welcome to Dalston.
Thank you.
Welcome to the UK.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome, very welcome. So, I'm going to start with you, Miguel. Tell us about the Miguel Wilson Collection.
So, Miguel Wilson, I'm a fashion designer. We started Miguel Wilson Collection. We're known primarily for our wedding attire and also red carpet clothing that we do in the States. So, we make suits, tuxedos. We have 4 locations we're in Washington, D.C., New York, Atlanta, and Miami.
Okay. And you've dressed some very prominent figures in U.S. pop culture. To name a few,
Yes.
Akon,
Yes.
2 Chainz,
Yes.
Wes Moore.
Yes.
Can you tell us about those and who else you may have styled and dressed?
We dress everybody. But Jeezy, a lot of ball players, a lot of dignitaries. But, I always pride myself on being accessible to the average guy. I think being able to provide, to make particularly black men feel special. And I think a lot of people focus on the celebrities that we do clothes for, which is great. But I really like making the average guy that comes in our doors feel exceptional, feel like a celebrity, right? So that to me is more defining of who we are than the celebrities we deal with. And I'm grateful, and I think that having celebrities gives you some level of credibility with people, but how you treat everyone is more defining of who you are.
For sure. I agree, for sure. That was a great answer. So, where does your journey start with regards to polo? What's your background in it? How did you get involved?
Thank you. So my journey starts in Washington, D.C., where I grew up. And I went to a camp and fell in love with horses. When I got back home from that camp, my great-grandmother, seeing my passion for it, sacrificed for me to take riding lessons. And those riding lessons exposed me to a lot of different people, a lot of different situations. I credit my ability to go to school, get my education, everything from just being exposed to horses. When she passed away, I found out she only made, $11,000 a year, which is a lot less than 11,000 pounds, mind you. Okay. So, but and that inspired me to create a foundation exposing kids and giving the same opportunities to other kids. So.
Okay. Because when I was a youngster, primary school is what I'm thinking. I had the experience of getting to ride on a pony. It was like a day trip, and it was incredible. And I loved it because it was it's the only time I think I've ridden on a horse. But also the horse that I got to ride on was the instructor's horse, so it was like a really obedient horse. And so we had a really good day. But it didn't grow into anything, even though I had a passion, I guess, from that interaction. So how would you best describe the journey from going from, oh, I'm on a horse and I've enjoyed this, to, getting into it as a sport? Like, how did you make that transition? I know obviously your grandma helped you, but like, what literally is the transition? How do you find a club or?
So, my passion, I mean, from the moment I saw a horse to the extent that I was probably about 8 years old, and the camp had three horses. It had Misty, Reno, and Peanut. Now I'm 58 years old, so that's 50 years ago, and I still remember those three horses to this day. And that's how much of an impact it was to me. So it was a natural progression from there, from being able to, my grandmother paying for lessons got me into the barn. Once I got into the barn, I think the journey is a lot similar as most other kids who become barn kids. We work at the barn, we clean, we anything dealing with the horses. Like I don't care if it's mucking horse poop or feeding the horses. You're doing all these different aspects of it, and all for an additional ride. So we do all this work for like a 30-minute ride, and every most horse people had those of us who were born without the resources to own our own horses pretty much have the same journey. We all work at these barns, we all do the work, and we all do all this just to be around the horses and have a 30-minute ride. But that kicked into, just me being able to work at camps. And in college, I actually worked at a barn at a racetrack.
Okay.
And I had an older black man, I would say. His name was Joe Walker, and he took me under his wing as a rider, and we would buy horses off the track and train them for hunters and jumpers. So I had some experience riding hunters and jumpers, and I had experience galloping race horses in the morning, and it was just like anything dealing with a horse I was just curious about.
Okay.
So eventually, polo seemed to be the most extreme opportunity. Like nobody plays polo. You know what I mean? And other than people who are really, really economically, top tier.
Yeah.
So it presented itself as just the biggest challenge in equestrian sports to be able to play polo. So I was curious, and I was, I lived in a neighborhood in Atlanta. They had a polo park, a polo club, and I don't know if you remember, Kevin. It used to be Buckhead Polo Club.
Before my time, but I've heard of it. Yes.
Before your time. So it was a place called Buckhead Polo Club, and I went there, took some lessons, and I'll tell you, it was so difficult and challenging. I literally was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. It was such a tough game to learn, even as an experienced equestrian. So, but I stuck with it, and I just found it to be more accommodating as I went along. The more people I met, and opportunities came about.
Awesome. I think I've got some questions for you then, just on the same vein, because I don't want to change the subject and come back. So I guess what is because you've got quite a long lineage in, no. You've got a different story with regards to polo. How did you get involved in polo?
Well, I think the thing that's interesting is that people's horse stories have a very common vein, right? Like, to me, horses are almost like a disease. Like, either you catch it or you don't. And on that first interaction, either you're hooked or you're not, And so if you're a kid and you could go to camp and see horses and they're just not your thing, right? But a small percentage of people, they just like instantly are like, this is my thing. And, you're a little kid and you don't have any money, or you just get horse crazy. You spend your time at the barn and you're like cleaning stalls and doing all this work that your friends would think is insane just so you can have, like you said, a free lesson. So my experience of getting into horses is when I was a little kid, my mom had a horse. Like, we're from Chicago, so everybody's like, she had a horse in Chicago, but there's horses around every big city. So my mom had a horse, and for a while while we were kids, and so we got exposed to it. And then, much like Miguel said, I started working at the barn. I saved up my lunch money, and I bought a horse. Like, I bought a stallion when I was like 14 years old, which is like literally the stupidest thing you could ever do. And my parents should never have let me do it, but I did it. And I was just horse crazy. I just loved the horses. I was riding all the time. And the way I got into polo is English riding is really dominated by women. You have dressage, you have hunter jumper. And I'm a big sports guy. I love basketball, I love football, I play a lot of sports. And I miss that like competition. I didn't necessarily like wearing the little outfits that you have to wear to do the hunter jumper or dressage. And so when I saw polo, I was like, wow, this is like two things I love combined into one. It's like horses and then like a very aggressive team sport.
Mm.
And the other thing I really love about polo is when you see horses playing outside, they're doing all these sharp turns and they're just like beautiful, like agile animals. But a lot of times when you're riding, you're doing these huge turns like a Mack truck. And I was
Yeah.
like, why can't we ride the horse like they look like when they're in the field playing? And in polo, you get that. The horses are turning and spinning and doing all these great maneuvers. So I really love the teamwork between the horse and the rider and the challenge of the game. Like Miguel said, it's such a challenging game because it combines your riding and your hand-eye coordination, and it humbles you, but it's like you always want to go back and get better. So I really enjoy it.
Awesome. So, what is equestrian noir? What does that mean to you?
So Equestrian Noir is our leather brand. So we have a leather goods brand. This is one of our bags right here. And it stems from my love of horses, really, because a big part of horses is the tack, the saddles and the bridles. And there's a smell that it has when you go into the barn and you go into the tack room, like this rich smell that you just associate with horses and you associate with like that lifestyle and the quality of the leather and like the way it feels and smells. But then when you go out and you see leather bags, leather goods, even lots of ones that you consider very exclusive and expensive, they're missing that feel and that smell of like full grain leather. And so I wanted to bridge that gap. I wanted to bring that richness of leather and quality and craftsmanship into like a more urban setting and a more luxury setting. And so when I was younger, I was learning like your bridle breaks, your saddle rips, and I started learning how to fix it myself. And then, my wife was like, oh, you should make a bag for me. And, you start dabbling and you start buying the tools, and then it just kind of transitioned from there. And then I got into it, and we want to bring that look and that feel to people who look like us a lot of times.
Okay. So do you make the bags yourself, or at least in the beginning, you made them yourself?
Yeah, I made all the bags at our kitchen table. I bought these big, huge full hides, and I cut up patterns. And there was just bags we were looking for that we couldn't find. Either we couldn't find them at all, or we could find them, but we didn't like the quality. And so we started designing them. So everything we have is designed in-house. We design.
Awesome.
We no longer make each individual one by hand, but that's literally our design.
Yeah. But that's economy of scale. Like you start to grow, you have to do things in different ways. No, but that's amazing. I used to work in fashion once upon a time, so I've seen the pattern cutters and the table and all the science going into getting every bit of value out of 1 meter of leather and whatnot. I know it's kind of crazy. So this is an interesting one. I don't know who wants to take this question, but I guess
let me speak on his bags right quick too, because I actually carried one of his bags over here. Kevin makes a polo bag, which is unique. I've never seen one. I don't think there's one made anywhere else, but I was able to carry my helmet, my boots, and my gloves, my knee, everything in this one bag. And it's like, it was really big, but it's a backpack.
Yeah. And
it's just very fashionable, beautiful bag of leather. So, I mean, I commend him on his, and I would say that, the best business ideas are ones that solve problems.
Yes.
And literally, as a polo player, I don't know of any other bag I could have done what he created. And I think that's something that could be marketable to polo players around the world. So you got something special, brother.
Watch this space.
Absolutely.
Send us an image so we can add it to the video for sure. So then because what I'm picking up on from both of you is this gravitation, 1, to polo, and 2, to fashion. do you feel like it's something organic, or do you feel like there's maybe something else, something to do with the horses or the environment that's led to this?
I just think it's he saw a need. I think that wasn't being met, and that's where business opportunities come from. I think for the best business ideas come from a problem, you recognizing there's something missing, and being able to fill a gap. But as far as like fashion and design, it's something euphoric. And I think Kevin was speaking on that to some degree, and he talked about the smell. You walk into a barn, there's a distinctive smell. When you walk into a tack room where we keep our saddles and bridles, there's a distinctive smell. And when you smell it, you get an emotional high from it.
Yeah.
Because certain smells just kind of bring you to a certain place, and certain feels. Fashion, I think, being able to put your, I think it's important for us to look good, even playing polo. Like, I'm sure, Kevin got his nice boots, and we all, the boots we wear, I design all the polo jerseys for our teams, and it's important that they look fly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely very fashionable. I want it to be something that people can wear athletic, like you wear jerseys, basketball jerseys, football jerseys. Well, I created my polo jerseys that you can wear them like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Okay, so fashion, I guess, and you run your own event, and you also, I feel like both of you also have dual identities. So tell us a bit about your dual identity. What else do you do outside of being a polo player?
So I do events. I created the Atlanta Fashion Polo Classic 8 years ago, and I was playing polo one day in Atlanta, and a brother, worked at the barn. He saw me, and he asked me, had I been playing? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I've never seen a black man playing polo out here. I've been working here for many years. I've never seen anybody black. And it struck me in that moment that, while I've been doing this, and I take it, I'm not really cognizant of the exceptional opportunity I have in doing it. And I wanted to be able to expose to other people. So I decided to create an event which tied polo and fashion together. So the Atlanta Fashion and Polo Classic is a polo match, polo event with fashion shows. And, it's really everything I do is always tied to fashion. So it's about, looking exceptional, looking great, feeling wonderful, but also about exposure. So all other polo events in the United States, for the most part, celebrate white culture. You go to the events, and is there music, is there food, so I wanted to do something that celebrated African American culture. So when you come to one of my events, it's going to have the music, our food, and to the extent that historically everything that is black in America is always deemed to be less than, worse than.
Yeah.
And, it's just a marketing situation. So even when it comes to the food, are you familiar with soul food?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soul food, most people will tell you, is some of the best tasting food in the world, right? Historically, we've taken the scraps,
Yeah.
it made them taste great. And when I first did the Polo Classic, I was adamant to making it luxury. So I did not want soul food served because I wanted it to be high end.
Yeah.
And one day it occurred to me, why is the best tasting food not considered gourmet? And I decided they can make a hamburger gourmet,
Yeah.
but we can't make
Right.
we can't make soul food gourmet, right? So then I said, you know what? I want soul food served at my events on a luxury level.
Yeah.
So we have shrimp and grits in champagne glasses.
Hey.
You understand? So it's changing the narrative.
You know what? I had a conversation in this very room a few weeks back off air, and someone said to me, a poet, Um, his name is Rotimi, and he said it's not even about changing the narrative; it's about changing the narrator, because the story is fine. It's who's telling it that's affecting how we're receiving the information. And I've not been able to unlive these words. So every time someone says that, I'm like, no, because
The
grits is
narrative.
fine,
Yes.
shrimp is fine, okra is fine. But who's telling you about these things? They don't understand it.
Now I can't unhear it either. I can't unhear that. You know, that's phenomenal. I think that who's telling the story, and since we're telling the story, it should be told more accurately.
Exactly.
That reflects our history, our emotion,
our experiences,
our experiences,
our
exactly.
perspectives. Yeah, because we're going to talk about these things to each other in a completely different way. Because we're talking to each other, we already know there's a level of understanding in that conversation.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we hear from Kevin Scott about your your alter ego?
Well, I always applaud Miguel for his events because he is a Renaissance man in a lot of ways. He does a lot of things, and I really appreciate the event he does in DC. Is top notch in every way. I love it on a couple different levels. On one is very high end and well put together, and a very beautiful venue. And I love how he gives back, and I love how he incorporates not just the creme de la creme of Black society, but he also helps underprivileged kids.
Yeah, I did see the kids in the video.
So that's something I really liked, and I've helped him in that effort a couple times, and that's important to me. So I love how he brings those two things together. So myself, when you have horses are not free, so you need a job, right? So I'm an attorney, and that's what helps me pay the bills. And then we started Equestrian Noir, and that's another thing that we do. And I also really, to my point earlier, I really like exposing other Black youth, especially to horses. So I give some of my time to that. So I bring all these things together in different ways to serve my passions and the things I want to see grow.
Okay. But how do you find, how forgiving, I guess, is it to have that duality of polo and court? Like, how are you able to balance the saddle in the courtroom?
So I'm actually not a litigator, so I don't go to court. I'm a transactional attorney. Okay. So I do business law for a company, and it's just adulting, really. You have to put in your hours of work to do your hours of pleasure. So it's a balance like any other hobby you might have. It's my passion, so I love it, and work is my adult job.
Awesome. So then, I guess I've got one more historical about you prying question, and then we can just freestyle about everything that is your experience of coming to London, doing Lux Afrique. So the one more thing that I have to ask from you is the books. 2 books? What are your books about?
So my first book was my tagline in doing weddings. You understand the history of men in the fashion and wedding space. At one point, everyone in America wore rental tuxedos to weddings. And that struck me as odd. Why is it that, a woman would spend thousands of dollars on a gown and a man would go get a used tuxedo to wear to, his most important day? So I created the first wedding collection for men and designed some beautiful attire for it. Then I also came up with the tagline, because it's his day too. And the first book I did was a celebration of that, where it was called Because It's His Day Too, Love Stories. And I took the pictures from the weddings I've done, and took the grooms and had them write a love story to the bride. And, it was just a great coffee table book.
Yeah.
For guys getting married. Matter of fact, I need to do another edition of that now, because I have some, I just had gotten away from that. But the intent is to do different collections of that book, showcasing the fashion that I've created for many grooms, but also the stories behind it. And going back to just the relevance of that is that as black men, people aren't used to hearing us talk about love.
Yeah.
Love to a woman. You know, I think that the perception of black men is very different of that of other men of other cultures. People tend to think that we don't love our wives, we don't love our kids, and I think that book is to change the narrative again, or change the narrator, right? Let him tell his story
Yeah.
about how he feels, you know, because I see it every week in my stores where guys come in and they may be marrying a woman who has kids already, and he will not only love her but love the kids that he didn't even birth. So I just think that the stories are so great, and to be able to have a book telling it was wonderful. The second book I wrote was called Peace Over Everything. And Peace Over Everything deals with my journey as an entrepreneur, but also as just a Christian and a man. Okay, so in 2011, I filed bankruptcy and pretty much lost everything, and had to go through a process of rebuilding. And in doing so, in order to fix, I had to fix a lot of my own personal issues in order to move on to the next level.
Yeah.
So understanding what mistakes did I make, and a lot of mistakes that I made were tied to priorities, the wrong priorities. So Peace Over Everything deals with making decisions not just based on profit, not just based on money, not based on pleasure, but based on peace. When you make your decisions in life around maintaining your peace and your happiness, that's where true success lies, not in your accumulation of money and assets, right? So being able to never worry about something that happened yesterday. I can look straight ahead. I don't have to worry about what somebody coming after me about some decisions I made yesterday, or me getting in trouble with the law, or anything, right? So just about priority, and I think part of that is, you know, from a spiritual standpoint, you know, operating in God's favor, you know, and having faith and trust, and going beyond your own personal abilities, right? So God, for me, is in having faith was where true peace lies, because without Him, there's no peace.
You're speaking to me, boy.
Right.
Like, this is literally my journey of recent, probably this business,
Right.
even just just realizing how to utilize so me and my business partner, we call it the energy. And we're like, oh, you know, God is saying, or the energy, or the ancestors, they're saying, you know, go. So we move.
Right.
They're putting things in place, we move. But yeah, it's definitely with a mentality of peace and knowing that everything is done with good faith and in a good heart. So I never look back. When it gets to bedtime, I'm out, because there's nothing for me to think about.
Right.
Unless it's my wife, I might be thinking.
Right.
That one you can't get away from.
Good idea.
But yeah, no, I really need to get these books. I want to read that one in particular. I like the because it's his day too. That feels like it's going to be good vibes, and will rekindle some of the love in me, and help me to reflect that love back to my wife. But this one about peace is very much a trajectory that I'm on, and I need to. I think it will be like affirmation almost, like you're just having the same information that you know, but reaffirmed. You're like, okay, I thought that was correct, but now you're sort of giving that to me. Interesting. So it feels like there's a great level of depth that both of you take onto the field. I'm so not a polo player that my lingo, like I don't have it. I just worked out what a chucker is.
Right. Okay.
Just like I heard it. I've been to the events, but like it's not a sport I've played ever.
Right. Well, your audience probably doesn't know what a chucker is.
See,
See? And a chucker is in most sports they have quarters, right?
Or halves,
periods,
or periods.
halves. Yeah. So in chucker, a polo match is divided into chuckers. You know, we generally play 4 chuckers, but a lot of times professional match they play 6. So it's 7.5 minutes per chucker, and typically we change horses after chuckers because we run so much and horses get worn out. To get a fresh horse under you for the next 7.5 minutes.
Oh, so you changed your horse?
A lot of times, yeah, we change horses.
Okay.
So typically, a polo field, a regulation polo field is 300 yards long and 150 yards wide. So it's a lot of space, and horses running and galloping pretty fast, stopping and turning. And like Kevin was saying, it's just that athleticism of these horses is unmatched in most other sports. But it's you wear them out.
Yeah.
They're 7.5 minutes. They're sweating. They're breathing hard. And,
I didn't even realize you changed your horse.
Yeah, you have to change horses. And that's why you have 2 horses, Kevin. 4. Yeah, 4 horses. Yeah, so he's changing horses pretty much after each one. So yeah.
So then, when you're playing, because you guys are from the States, you're now here in the UK. You're gonna play a game tomorrow. Are you bringing your horses with you, or you got fresh horses here that you're familiar with? How does it work?
So the way it works in polo is when you travel, you play on the horses that they provide, and so it makes you a much better rider. And all the players come, and you've never met this horse before. You hopefully it's a great horse, and usually they're really good horses. And you just get out there, and you have to like learn that horse and learn their little trait, their individual traits, and just perform the best you can on that horse. And it makes it more even because all the players are coming in and they're all on new horses, and you just get out there and you play your best, and it's a learning experience.
That is crazy to me. I'm not gonna lie. It feels like, so imagine if I used to really like basketball when I was growing up, and I didn't realize how high the upper levels were. So I thought I had a chance because I was really good in terms of local. But that's, to me, feels like if I was said, yeah, you're gonna go play a game, but here's some shoes. You've never tried these shoes before. Do your best. I would be really skeptical. My brain, as you're saying this to me, this is my default thinking, is like, but what if the other guys have like secretly played on these horses before? Like they know this horse, or something like that. Has anything like that ever happened?
Well, the skill level out there, it varies. It's just like basketball. You have your hoop dreams or your soccer dreams, I guess, here. But you might be good in your neighborhood, and then you get out there with like the guys who are really good, and you're like, oh, okay. So in polo, it's a little different because there's usually a pro who plays with the players, and these guys it's their full-time job, and they're really, really good, and they help facilitate the game and move the game along, and they pass the ball to everyone, and they just keep the game flowing and clean up your mess. So each game is mixed with players of varying levels and skill sets.
Okay.
And so you just come in there, and polo will humble you. Polo will definitely humble you. So you just come in there and you do your best, and you try to be a good teammate and be safe. And you let the game play out and have fun and have a good time and meet great people and enjoy the event.
My goal tomorrow is just to stay on and not fall off. Just don't fall off, man. But and Kevin's right. The skill level for players, and just to give you just some understanding, your audience somewhat understanding about the levels of polo. So polo, there's a handicap system. And so the worst, or just a beginner, somebody just starting out the day, they're considered a -2 as their handicap. And it goes -1, 0, up to 10.
Okay.
Right? So from -2 to a +10 is the scale in which you can be as a polo player. Professional is usually starting around 4. You say you got about a 3-4 handicap, you're a professional. 10, to reach the level of 10 is very, very, very rare. Like, I don't know how many 10s in the world, Kevin. Maybe Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Out of thousands, maybe a million players, you got 20 at most. That's a 10. I think less than that. I think it's probably about 10 to 20 professional. I mean, 10 handicap players in the world. Uh, we typically play against guys who are a -1 into a one.
Okay.
I would say you got 80% of polo players are between a -1 and 1, -1, 0, or 1. So it's not, but it's a big difference between a 1 and a -1. I mean, you'll see the skill level at each level gets better. So it's once you get to, I think, a -1, when you go from a -2 to a -1, you typically can play with most people
Okay.
because you understand like the rules, you understand strategy, you understand where you should be on the field and that types of things, those types of things.
Hmm.
And so a follow up on what Miguel said, the biggest thing is the safety issue. Because this game, you're moving really fast. You're 40, 35, 45 miles an hour, and you're these big horses. And so safety is the most important thing because when it goes wrong, it's literally like a car wreck. So the rules are it's very much like driving. There's rules to how you merge, there's rules how you turn, there's rules about head on because if you don't understand that at the speed you're moving at, like you literally can get killed. Like it's a dangerous sport. When things go wrong, they unfortunately go really wrong. So safety is the number one priority in the sport, and the safety of the horses and the safety of the players.
I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to breach onto the fact that it scares me a little bit, but I didn't want to also knowing you guys are playing, I didn't want to do that. So you did it, so it's okay. um, right, so like, yeah. So what size horses are there? Because I read somewhere that it's ponies. I spoke about me riding when I was in school. That was definitely a pony, but I called it a horse all my life until I saw horses, and I was like, oh, okay. Uh, so are you riding horses or ponies? And then
So they call them ponies because traditionally they like back when polo first started they were probably ponies, but they're horses. They're not like giant horses like you see in dressage or jumping because you want them to be like really nimble and handy and like able to turn and start. So a lot of horses in polo come off the racetrack.
okay.
So after they finish racing, they sell them to polo players and they train them for polo. So they're full size horses and very fast horses. So that's where a good percentage of the horses come from.
Okay. That makes sense because they look big, but I know my experience it's warped because I was like, this thing's massive, and then and then you see an actual horse. So then how hard is it with the mallet to actually hit the ball? It is a ball, right?
Got it.
Okay, so I've got that right.
So one of
And a
the
mallet, I know some
you
stuff.
know, hey,
I know
look,
some
you get
stuff.
out there on that trail, you can get you out there. So
Negative 3.
one of my favorite quotes about polo is from an actor, Sylvester Stallone,
Okay.
from Rocky and Rambo and all that. He said playing polo is like hitting a golf ball during an earthquake.
Which is what it looks like.
Yeah, so it's you're on this unstable platform, moving really fast, and then you're hitting this ball that's about the size of a baseball, slightly smaller. So it's really hard, actually. Like I said, it humbles you. You think you're athletic, you think you have good hand-eye coordination, and then when you first get out there, you're like, I'm terrible. But that's also the challenge and the love of the game because it's like, how do I get better? How do you got to perfect your swing? It's almost like I'm not an avid golfer, but I know Miguel is. It's almost like golfers. Like, how do I perfect my swing and get my swing right so that when I hit the ball, it goes where I want to go. And then you have the added thing of like, and I need to be a good rider and be able to like not fall off this horse when I reach over and swing for it.
You know, I would say that one of the most uh, one of the biggest differences between players at each level is the speed in which you can hit the ball. So for me, I can gallop a horse full speed. I used to ride race horses, so going fast is not a problem. The question is, can I go fast and hit the ball at the same time? So typically, I have to slow down to a certain speed and be able to time it and, be able to swing in a certain speed level, whereas the better players, the higher the handicap, those guys don't break stride. They literally can go
Full
fast
speed
and
and
hit the
just wow.
ball at the same time. The hand-eye coordination, the ability to um, shift to both sides of the ball, because in polo, everybody has to play from the right side. Every player has to hold the mallet in their right hand.
Right.
But your ability to hit the ball on the left side of the horse is very difficult. Your better players can hit the ball just as well from the left side of the horse as they can from the right side of the horse. That is a huge difference too between your better players and your average or lower handicap players. So being able to hit the ball with speed and being able to hit the ball from both sides of the horse are very key to just improvement. If you want to be better, those are two things you practice on probably the most, and that will make you a better player. Yeah.
So in terms of practice, how long do you feel like it's taken you to get to from beginner to the level you're at? Assuming that you kind of you hit a point and you're comfortable and you coast at that level, not that you're always trying to go up.
So the thing that's different about polo than say basketball or football or a lot of other sports is really just the ability to practice. Like there's not a lot of places where you can practice polo, so it's access to that hinders many people from reaching their full potential. It's time, it's money, it's horses. Like it's hard to do that. There's not a lot of places to practice. So you need a lot of practice, and that's the hardest thing. If you ask probably any amateur polo player, they're like, I could be better if I could practice more.
Yeah.
And it's just getting access. Like, when can I get out there? How much is it going to cost me? And I just need riding time.
I would say that a lot of the um, big fans of polo, people that play a lot, typically have the resources to do so. And one of, like, I give you an example, um, there are people who actually take their horses from, like, Kevin's in Chicago. So you got polo players in Chicago. They're playing polo all summer,
Mm-hmm.
polo season, right? But winter comes, they're taking their horses down to Florida, and they have facilities there, so they're playing year round.
Yeah.
And and it is, you got the best facilities and constant games. I mean, they're playing polo 4 times a week, and they have different options of places to play. We live in Atlanta, so polo shuts down after a certain time. We don't start back to a certain time, and even then, it's still a huge cost to being able to do it. So Kevin hit it on the head. I've been playing polo for 20 years, and my growth in being better is very slow, because I can only play a certain amount of times for a certain period of time. And we may travel down to Florida, play maybe once in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, winter, we may, like, we can in London now playing. So we may travel every now and then to play here and there to get the exposure, the experience, and all that. But, it's still very limiting on how much you get to in time in the saddle. So in 20 years, I may have played the equivalent of 1 year for somebody who plays
Yeah.
a lot. You understand? So
But do you feel that feeds into access and the disproportionate representation that you see in the professional sport?
yeah,
Is there any correlation, do you feel?
there's definitely a huge correlation between you becoming a professional and how much time you get to play.
Mm.
Uh, there are people who grow up in the sport and are in there. Like, I have friends that assist me with, like Kevin. Kevin assists me with the kids in Atlanta. I have youth polo teams. Getting these kids access and opportunities to ride and play is very difficult. For them to be able to play, for an hour once a week is huge.
Right.
And, I'll call Kevin and say, can you help out with the kids this week? And some of the practices we've done have been without the horses. We might have to practice just hitting the ball, mallets, and taking time to do stuff like that to improve the skills. But for kids who grow up in an environment where they have their own horses and they have access to facilities and training and all that stuff. By the time they are, 12 years old, they're hitting the ball like pros.
Mm.
And it's just like golf. You start off early, you have access, you live on a country club, you're going to play better than a kid who just, you know, playing at the local driving range and that type of thing. So access we at a point where we just want to be able to give kids an opportunity. But scholarships and those types of things are very difficult for them to get if they don't get time in the saddle.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess with the event only hours away, what you look forward to most?
You know what I love about polo is like the brotherhood that the players have, no matter where you go in the world. Like you can go. I've traveled a lot, and you can go anywhere. And if they play polo, like they're super welcoming. Different cultures, different people might look totally different from you, but if you share that passion, they embrace you and welcome you. I found, and so now this is an opportunity from us coming from the States to meet a whole bunch of people of African descent who have that passion from the continent, from England, from Africa. I know some players from Nigeria, Ghana, whatever. So we're just enlarging our brotherhood and bridging these gaps and meeting all these people. And I love the celebration of culture. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great time. And I'm just excited about building friendships with these people and playing with people because you're out there, we haven't seen these horses before. We haven't practiced together. So it's going to be competitive because all of us are competitive people and everyone likes to win once the whistle blows, we're all trying to win. But the camaraderie that you experience and the shared love we have is what I'm looking forward to. And then, the way it works is you do these events and you meet people and then they come to your event and then some of them might come to America and then maybe we get invited out to Africa or we get invited out to the Caribbean to play. So it just grows. And I'm so excited to see like black polo growing and expanding. And that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I think it's the expansion of the tent. It's Kevin and I have been playing together for about 5 years or so, and we have two other brothers here that are playing with us, Dale Johnson and Noah, um, playing with us tomorrow from the States. These guys all play. We all play together at my event every year, and we kind of have a fraternity, if you will, of black polo players in the States, guys that we play with regularly that aren't even here. Um, that to me is just special, to be able to, like for instance, I got these kids I'm trying to train, but I can call Kevin and say, hey man, help me out with these kids. And it's just an amazing thing to have them see more of us doing this. But like Kevin said too, I think the sport itself is a very small community of polo players, especially in the States. And we're usually one or two persons removed. So we can go to any state pretty much and play polo. Somebody we know somebody there that plays, right? Because it's such a small community. And very welcoming. I've been played in California with Dale and his friends, and we may go to DC area and play. And what you'll find is that everyone in the sport has been very receptive to broadening the tent to include being more inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that about polo too. It's exclusive, and with all due respect, it's considered the sport of kings, right? And so it is meant for royalty.
Mm.
Yet we find that people are very receptive to everybody coming. I've never been anywhere and not felt welcome. I played in other parts of the world. I went to Mexico one time and played, and those guys were just great. Didn't even speak much English,
Mm.
and it was like, man, hey, Miguel, go, go, go. You know, it's like, you know, you get that energy. Like,
Yeah.
even like, you know, Kevin has said, you know, we generally play with a pro on the field sometimes, and, you know, they feed you the ball, and people genuinely rooting for you,
Mm.
you know, to do well. And it's just, while it's competitive, we all just have just well wishes for each other to have fun and play well. So I love that about polo, how accommodating it is. And like Kevin said too, we came here, it'll open the door for people to come to the U.S. and play with us. And these are friendships and bonds that are just amazing to have. And I think this shows the power of exposure, the power of being exposed to something, because it's all about relationships. You don't get exposed to different people and different opportunities unless you get involved. So I love that about polo. I love that about being here. You know, like I may have you in the States DJing one of my
Listen,
parties next year, right?
I'm here. I'm here. If you're here to make it happen, I'm here to make it happen. Wow, it's a lot. You know, this conversation about the community around polo is starting to make me somewhat jealous, and I'm a delusional kind. I accept myself. My wife, my sister, everyone has alerted me to who I am. I feel like I'm very able-bodied, but I'm also becoming more aware of my mortality and my age. I'm approaching 40. And so this is a very personal question to me. Is this a bit old to be getting involved in polo? I've only ridden a horse once, a pony, sorry, when I was in primary school. I can't play golf. Not that I couldn't learn, but I've never played. So with these odds stacked up against me, how do I fare?
Well, me and Miguel are both significantly older than you, so you definitely can get out there if you have the love for it. It's a challenging game, but it's if you get bit by the bug, it's a passion. So I think the beautiful thing about it is that the horse does most of the work, right? So it's not like basketball where like after you're 30, like you can't play, or what are some other sports. So you can play. We're out there with guys who are 70 years old who are like beating us up and like dusting younger players. So age, it extends your age of when you can play a lot. Like, so you can play for years and years and years. You just have to have the saddle time and the passion and the tip for it.
Okay, I'm considering it. It's
Do
the
it.
community. It's the community part. I feel like I would. I feel like I wouldn't be too good on the field. I'm just gonna be honest, but I think I'll be great in the locker room after. like, on the
Hey.
plane, on the coach.
There are a lot of people out there who play once a year, but they love to have the gear and love to hang out, and they love the camaraderie, and they love the
Yeah, like I'm
love.
gonna have all your bags.
It's about the fashion, bro. Instead of, and let me tell you something. Polo is a sexy sport. It is, like, from a standpoint that, you go anywhere and you tell people,
Yeah.
"Well, I play polo." People are gonna look at you like, "Okay, you're different."
Right?
Have
that little accolade.
yeah. So even like, I went to the practice of the kids last week, and we have a foundation where we get younger kids. We started the first black high school polo team in the United States in Atlanta at Best Academy. And one of the parents was telling me, it's so cool when people ask us about, what he does, and we say he plays polo, and they look at us like, okay, on a horse. People are always amazed. So that's the cool part, I think, about being black and playing, is that you catch people off guard. They really don't know what, we so used to putting people in boxes. Okay, you do this. Okay, you over here. Okay, you do that. You play basketball. Okay, you're just typical. And then when you say polo, okay, I don't even know what box you go into, because there's no box for you over here. So people are gonna automatically be intrigued by you, just by you saying you play the sport. And I think that, it's just a sexy sport. I think the fashion is amazing. Look, we wear white jeans to get dirty.
Yeah.
you know, that it doesn't make sense, right? Okay, We could have said blue jeans. You could have wore black jeans, but they were white. We were in polo. We wear they call polo jeans. You wearing white jeans,
Mm.
and who does that? And of course, me being a brand, I have to have the Miguel Wilson
Jeez.
white polo jeans. Kevin wears them and all too. So it's just a sexy sport. You should get into it just for the fashion.
Yeah. You sold me on it. I'm not gonna lie, boy. I'm looking into it. Okay, so let's maybe think of like one thing you want the audience to take away from you, your brand, your history, your involvement in polo, anything that you want to be like, you know what, this is my parting gift. If you remember just one thing about me, remember this.
Okay, I'll start. First of all, I want you to come out to the event tomorrow. If you're in London or this area, come out to the event. I think it's gonna be awesome. But I want you to check out my brand, Equestrian Noir. I think it's a chance for people who don't traditionally look how you expect in this space to still have a very high end look. It's leather goods that are meant to travel with and meant to look good, are made out of like the highest quality materials. We've poured our heart into it to give it our look and our feel and to represent us. So check us out. We're called Equestrian Noir. Our website is eqnoir.com. And let me know what you think. Check us out.
Thank you.
So I guess for me, as a brand, I want to be global, and I think that crossing the pond, if you will, uh, is inviting. But also, I just want us as Black people to cross the pond mentally, to see ourselves as one. I think that too often in the States, we feel like we're on an island, right? And that we're so different than Africans or Black people in the UK. And I think that is the power that is available to us, is the coming together as one to see ourselves as a global people and not just a regional. And I think that's the fear that a lot of people have of us, that if we were to unite as one and think of each other as brothers and sisters, no matter where we are in the diaspora, it would just accelerate the inevitability of what God intends for us to be globally.
Amen to that. So I definitely agree with your sentiments also about polo being a sexy sport, because I didn't think we would have such a riveting conversation with sports players. You're sportsmen. And I can't think of another sport that I would have sat down and had a conversation with someone and felt more like it was a deep dive into culture, into identity, into connecting the youth, access, fashion. So thank you very much, both of you, for coming down. We have Kevin Scott. We have Miguel Wilson from the Miguel Wilson Collection. I got to say the whole thing, sorry. But yeah, look forward to seeing you both on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting it.
Yeah, Shay, thank you so much for what you do, for allowing us this opportunity to share our passion and share our love for the game, share our love for being here, in the UK and meeting some great people.
Thank you.
I concur. This is awesome. We're super excited about this. And every time you get to travel and meet new people, it's opening opportunities and bringing brotherhood together. So this is awesome.
A huge thank you to our incredible guests, Miguel Wilson and Kevin Scott. And thank you to everyone behind the scenes for making today possible, but also for championing Black excellence in polo, fashion, and the arts. If this conversation intrigued you, inspired you, then please keep the conversation going. Add your 2 pence to the comments, and we'll see you on the field.